G'day viewers, Drew here.
And welcome peeps to the What Boots podcast, where we are changing lives one step and one pair of boots at a time. I am Mad Mumzie.
And I'm Hard Hat Mentor, and together we are...
Steel Cap Sisters.
And we're actually real sisters.
Between us, we've been wearing steel cap boots for over 40 years. But you certainly don't need to be wearing them or have ever worn them to listen.
No, and when we ask what boots, what we're really asking is, what mindset are we in? What choices have we made? And how might we make better choices?
And that is what this podcast is all about. What boots got us to where we are, and what boots do we have to put on to get us where we want to go?
So, what boots are we wearing? Or kicking to the curb this episode, Blister?
Well, let's kick off. Get it? Kick, boots. Crack me up.
You ready to rock?
Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the What Boots podcast. I am Mad Mumzie.
And I'm Hard Hat Mentor and I'm excited.
I'm excited too because in this episode we're going to put on our Who the Hell Are We boots. And to introduce you to us and a little bit about each of our journey, we're going to not make it too long. You will get to know both of us really well as the podcast unfolds. But in this short version, we wanted to just give you an overview of each of us and then tell you about how Steel Cap Sisters came about and then some of the things that we've got planned. So let's get going, hey? What do you reckon?
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. How exciting. The first one. Let's get her done.
Yes, well, let's. So how are we going to start then?
Well, how about I actually put my little podcaster boots on, which I've never done until today, and ask you, Mad Mumzie, about your journey to become first and foremost Mad Mumzie. And then after that, we'll go to Steel Cap Sisters. But obviously you're my blister, my big sister. So here am I asking Mad Mumzie, can you give us an overview of what led you to becoming Mad Mumzie as we know her today?
Well, thank you, Hard Hat Mentor, for such a great question. I love your podcasting boots already. Well, I'll start right back. I'm a mum and a nana, and I've got 2 beautiful daughters, 2 grandsons, and I was in a relationship for 22 years that ended suddenly, and I ended up getting a job in the mines driving a big dump truck with only me and another woman and 60 blokes. And I was a freaking mess. I was crying all the time over the relationship breakdown, being away from my kids who were teenagers and 1 grandson. And I was in an area that was freezing cold, and because I come from Queensland now, and I wasn't used to the bloody cold. So I only stayed there for about 9 months. One winter, got pneumonia, and decided, bugger this, I'm going back to Queensland. And then I managed to get more work in the mining industry. Stayed there for 13 years altogether. Had a couple of little hiatuses along the way. And I loved it for a long time. Once I figured out how to do it, but at the start, I couldn't do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was always getting yelled at. I was in the wrong spot, and they were allowed to be really nasty and mean to you on the 2-way and actually drop the F-bomb at you if you're in the wrong spot and stuff. And I nearly quit heaps of times. I had lists. I'm a real list head. So I had lists about whether to stay or whether to go. I ended up staying, and I'm really glad that I did. But what I started doing was realising that a lot of people think a job in the mines is going to fix everything. They're going to have heaps of money. They're going to have time off, and it's all going to be good. But they don't even know what they're in for. And so that's how Mad Mumzie was born, really. So many people asking me, oh, how does a little thing like you drive those big trucks? You must be rich. How do I get a job doing that? And that's all they know. So spending so much time in my truck as well, and then other machines, I ended up operating graders and loaders and water carts as well, not just the trucks. And I used to listen to podcasts all the time before anyone even knew what the hell they were. And I'd download them onto a USB stick and stick it in the stereo and have a listen. And I am a talker, which you'll discover both of us are. We love to talk. So we're going to try and keep these intros short, Mad Mumzie. Get back on task. But what I'm trying to say is, by listening to the podcast, it inspired me to create my own podcast. At first, I was writing for a magazine, a Shift Minder magazine, which really gave me my credibility boots, I guess, self-belief boots, because people were enjoying my article. And then I just started reading the article and called it a podcast, and then I started interviewing people. And now it's been 4 years, and that's what I do. And I've got online courses, and I have stepped away from mining now, moving more into my little production company and using the technology that I've learned, because I do all the things myself. So I'm the editor and everything, and that's pretty much my journey so far.
Oh, brilliant. That's short, sharp, sweet, interesting. I know we'll talk about these things later, but I do remember when you were writing for Shift Minder magazine, you were Mad Mumzie then. No one actually knew who Mad Mumzie was. And you came out from behind the Shift Minder Mad Mumzie, and Mad Mumzie came out from behind the mic. So we know you. Your name's actually Leanne Drew. That's who Mad Mumzie is. And so that was me, proud sister boots then and there. So, well, thank you for that. As Mad Mumzie said, we will be finding out a great deal about her as we move forward. Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
I will say it was a big moment to come out from behind the cartoon character, because people were talking about her at the crib hut and only my partner's people knew that it was me. So, and it was from interviewing our mum on my podcast when she kept calling me Leanne and she'd go, "Oh, sorry." And I said, "It's all right, it's out now." And I did get to a point, and then I'll finish, is that I became proud of what Mad Mumzie was doing. And so I chose to stand up and own her and put what boots would they be, Blister? My proud boots.
Own it, baby.
And
I remember that.
Own it.
I remember that conversation we had way back when you were on teetering onto whether or not. But I can just share something with our listeners now, that when Mad Mumzie's Beers with a Miner podcast has been out for a long time, I was sitting next to someone on a plane flying to a mine site, and Mad Mumzie came up. I don't recall how, just came up in conversation. I think we're talking about podcasts. I said, "What are you listening to?" And she said, "A podcast." And I said, "Oh, yeah. Do you like podcasts?" And she says, "Yeah, Mad Mumzie. I like Mad Mumzie." I said, "Really? You like Mad Mumzie?" She goes, "Yeah, I've been listening to her from day one." And I said, "Well, that's my sister." And she said, "Well, it's my Mad Mumzie. I've been listening to her from day one." and we had this debate. I said, "What part of she's my sister do you not hear?" She said, "Oh, I don't care who she is. She's my Mad Mumzie." And that just floored me, cracked me up. I thought, your fans are pretty out there. She didn't care that you're my actual sister. I don't think she believed me. But that's when I knew, oh, my God, bragging rights. Mad Mumzie's my big blister, mate.
That cracked me up for so long. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Are you serious? Are you serious?" And so whenever... because we kind of know that lady now, and if we ever talk about her, it's my Mad Mumzie. That's her name now. Yep. That was gold, but it was that's hilarious. Like, what part of she's my sister?
I know, right? Oh.
Okay, so I'm going to put my podcaster boots back on now, if that's all right with you, my ballista.
Okay.
You know what that means,
mm-hmm.
right? Your turn. So you are known as Hard Hat Mentor is your brand and your cartoon character and your voice, more to the point. And I would love you to share your journey with our listeners as well.
Okay, well, I'll keep this.
Where to start?
We'll try and do this in a short fashion. I started in mining on my 18th birthday, literally, was my very first day in a mine. So that was a long time ago. I'm 50-something now. And I've pretty much been in the game ever since, although I've had the odd year here and there off to try other things. But I always knew it's what I wanted to do. Started in kitchens and then worked pretty rapidly into laboratories, and then worked on processing plants and was a crusher operator and ended up running a shift on a processing plant. And then I've worked in pits, off drill rigs. I've worked underground with survey. And then I decided our dad, who's a smart man, as is our mother, he said to me one day, if you're going to keep doing this and you want to stay in the game, you really need to be paid for what you know, not for what you do. Because my body was starting to break down a little. It wasn't all the sexy ergonomics they have now. It was 25 kilo bags of carbon up to the top level of the plant. And it was starting to take its toll because we played sport and rode dirt bikes all our childhood. So my body was breaking down, and I looked around and I thought, well, who are those people? They're pretty clean. It turns out they were the safety weirdos, a term of love and respect, because I ended up being one for a number of years. I was always the safety representative. So I got myself my own qualifications in safety and training. And then I actually earned my stripes, as it were, doing 4 weeks on, 1 off in construction within the resources industry. And all the time, I just kept thinking I was on the wrong side of it, because it was always, no matter what we did, it was a lot of paperwork, and we tried to, after the fact, find out what had happened so it didn't happen again. And there was always something missing for me. It was very frustrating, and I became very despondent. And then an opportunity came up to work along psychologists on a big oil and gas project and become a coach. And they taught me the psychology behind what we do as humans. And so then I became a coach, and that was pretty exciting. I ended up telling this psychologist at the time, I'm going to work for you one day. Day one in the first workshop, and he looked at me as if, who's this little upstart? Actually, that prophecy came true. I have worked internationally with that psychological consultancy, and it was brilliant. It taught me so much. So that took me into the cultural world, I guess, what the workplace culture is and why humans do what they do, the decisions they make, leadership, how the leaders actually shape the culture. And so the rest of my career has been aimed at that. And there was a time where my hard hat mentor consultancy came to life after the 2015 inquiry in WA here on the impact of FIFO on mental health. And it got me angry because on social media, a lot of people started attacking our tribe. They started saying, well, they're just greedy, they just want toys. And I got irate and I did the wrong thing and started going back at them, which just gave them oxygen. So then I thought, well, what can I do? So I started with that acronym FIFO. Instead of it being fit in or fork off, the first one I think was fork. Have you heard the term fork? It's a good place. Why can't I say fork? So it turned out FIFO, instead of fit in or fork off, I think the first one was forming incredible friendships on site. And then I just started putting all of them out there to get a balance, because all we were hearing was the devastation and suicide rates and divorce rates and how it's ripping people and families apart. And there is truth in that. But there are also many, many of us who thrive. We don't just survive in it. So I just wanted to balance the messages out. So I went on LinkedIn and started doing that stuff and got sort of a following. And then we decided, with help of a very smart techno boot savvy person and production company, can't imagine who that was, College River House Production, aka Leanne Drew, who said you need to reach a wider audience and get online and put this stuff out there. So we did that. We'll talk to you more about that later on my Hard Hat Mentor Teachable platform, and that was brilliant. And then the downturn hit and things got a little interesting. I couldn't even get a job in Coles. A lot of the world was suffering from our world. A lot of miners, especially a niche within a niche. By then I was a consultant and a coach. And so the first to go is usually what they call a luxury, although I think we're critical. And I got very despondent. The black dog hung around for a while. And to get myself out of that, I thought, well, there's got to be a lot of other people feeling the way I'm feeling. So I started the Rock and the Downturn group. And we used to meet in person and share stories and support each other, because we really miss the crew, we miss the life, we miss not being with our tribe. And that really sprung off into all sorts of areas of helping and supporting people. And that made me feel better. It actually pulled me out of my despondent boots and back into I'm making a different type boots. And it all just went from there. And now I've worked back in the game, doing leadership coaching, doing diagnostics on culture, and working side by side still as a psychologist translator, if you like, to help our peeps get control back of their own minds, what's going on in their head, and then influence others outwardly to help the culture. and so we can stop killing people was the goal, but also so we can have a healthy social and emotional well-being FIFO community it was my why. So, yeah, I guess that's what led me to be where I am now with my still cap sister. Does all that make sense?
It certainly does, and what a journey it's been. You know, a lot of people don't like that word journey, but it's what it freaking is. Fork. Google it, The Good Life. No, what is it? The Good Place. The Good Place, yes. Oh, every time I hear it, it takes me back to that holiday over at your place, which is where we started, but we'll get to that shortly. I do have a couple of podcasting questions that I would like to go back to after what you shared with us there.
I would expect nothing else from Mad Mumzie. All right, off you go.
The balls you had just to, I'm going to do it. You know, there's no way in heck I would have ever even thought of doing anything like that. I'm just going to hide in the corner, and, you know. And so having you on my team as my coach, as my sister for all of this time, I wouldn't be here where I am today without you. I just needed to get that
Well,
out.
thank you. Right back at you, mate. You know, you've been there for me as a sister, and I'm coaching a coach now, so that's gold.
Oh, yeah, you keep saying
It's
that.
true.
Okay, another thing is when you said you ended up getting your safety qualifications, I remember what a long road that was for you, because you had to go and things like volunteer as a ambulance, St. John's volunteer. Was that for that? Getting all of those qualificate, because you had to have quite an advanced level of first aid. You had to do. You're always studying something and just putting yourself out there and just improving yourself all the time. Whereas me, I was just being a mum.
Well,
and that was
let me help you to reframe that particular statement. No such thing as just being a mum. Hardest job in the world. I'd rather do 12 hours a day at work than some of the hard yards those mums do. You are shaping the future of next generation, so it doesn't get any better than that. Let me just put that out there. But yeah, there was wasn't a great deal of study, I guess, but there was some practical components that had to come in, and whether you're working or not, you had to find places to rack up the hours and get the evidence. So, but one thing I will put out there as a bit of a fig jam, I guess, is when I went for the exam, I'll never forget it. I went in for the exam and it was supposed to take, 4 hours, and in an hour I was done, and I walked up and I put it on the desk. And the old mate examiner says, "Have you finished?" And we'd met everyone before out the car park, and, you know, they were all nervous, and I was a little bit nervous too. And they thought, because when we all arranged to meet at the pub after, and they thought I'd quit and just gave up. And I said, "No, I'm done." And I walked out, and they came to the pub 3 hours later. And it turns out you had to get 80-something%. So I finished 3 hours early and got 98%. And the guys didn't believe me. They thought I was fibbing, but it was like,
I was just doing that. I'm like, shh.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And it shouldn't be a guy-girl thing. I'm not into that. It was just a proud person who was happy to have got what she got. So, yeah, that was me. But, yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a hell of a ride, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I would like to finish this part of our chat, I suppose, about when you were saying about the rocking the downturn and how you were meeting people in person. And I know that is such a huge part of who you are. You're always saying to me, pick up the bloody phone and ring them.
Yeah.
Talk to them. Go see them. Have a coffee. You know, do something. Whereas I'm I'm stepping out now. Ever since I started being a podcaster, I suppose. But I was always more of a keyboard warrior, you know, hide behind texts and emails and things. So it makes sense I'd start off writing. But you organising those little meetups in the park, and, you know, people were doing it tough financially as well, and everyone would bring a little, I've got eggs, I've got lemons, and so I remember that. I'm like, oh, that's my sister, of course she's done that. And it was around the same time quite a few FIFO groups were starting online, you know, on Facebook and things like that, and I've had a couple of those people on my podcast and delve deep into, you know, is this even helpful? Because we could be all just getting together and encouraging each other's woe is me, my partner's gone back to work, instead of it could be along the lines of, yeah, and what are you going to do while he's away? How are you going to make that work? So anyway, probably cut all that out.
No, I think it's good.
I was really proud of that part of you, that you're so passionate about in-person and speaking to people on the phone, etc.
Well, thank you, because, it's all about relationships and human relationships. You can get a broader reach with technology, but what quality? If you can do both, great. But the importance of it was that Rock and the Downturn group, it flat out said no kids or wives or family allowed. It was only for the workers, and that caused a bit of a ruckus. Well, we needed a safe place where we could go and talk about stuff that no one else gets, because there were a lot of groups supporting the families, and I support that. I think that was gold, but there was no one out there just for us, not in that way, shape or form then. And so I still keep in touch with those originals today, and we did a happy dance before we left every single time, and one guy who came was very staunch safety manager, and he said, I'm not going to do a happy dance. And he did right at the end. We all did Nutbush City Limits in a park in the middle of Mandurah in front of the whole world, and it was gold.
And Mandurah is in WA for those who don't know.
Yes, Western Australia for those who are listening globally.
Globally, that's right. So Blister is on one side of Australia and I'm on the other. Mm-hmm. And thank goodness for the internet trying to hang out. So we get to hang out as well. So, yeah, it's just gold. And that is a big part, I think, of what we'll move into next, is how Steel Cap Sisters came about. And as I remember it, originally it was, let's lighten everything up. We both had our brands, and, I'm helping new people to get a job in the mines, and those that have just started, what to expect, and people that are in there that are doing it tough. You were doing that as well, but focusing more on leadership and cultural change and things like that. And we wanted to still use our brands, but just do something really funny and take the piss out of the industry. And that's basically where it started. It's certainly evolved a long way, but that's where it started in my remembering.
Oh, most definitely. It was all about, let's be stand-up comics. We had visions of touring sites and doing our thing, and doing online funny stuff, because what you do and what I do, you try and help people, and that opens up cans of worms around, because your peeps, a lot of them are miners, obviously, around the effects of the life and when there's a downturn, and a lot of the interesting things you had from guests on your podcast. And me with my Teachable platform was trying to help people get back out of their own head and knowing we're our own worst enemy at times. And so for us, we really did want to lighten it up, like you say. And then I think I was the one who put the kibosh on that, put the brakes on, because of the companies I was working for, and therefore representing, it's politically correctness, it's what image are you putting out there, and we would have to really be mindful, and I didn't want to do that. It was either let's go out balls out or let's not do it at all. So it just morphed from that, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And you paid for me to come over on a holiday to WA, and we're going to start this comedy side of things. And we took a whole heap of steel cap boots down on the beach and took lots of photos. And I'm so glad that we did that, because as the editor and the production company, those photos are gold, and it was the best day on the beach over there in WA. People must have thought, what are these girls doing?
I know.
Or these old women.
Yeah. And I've literally got a big boot tree in my backyard, because we've got a half-acre block here, and there's a lot of boots they throw up. People who don't know, when you leave a site, they used to allow you to throw your old boots up this tree, and it was the boot tree, and now and again they still have them. So we started one in our backyard, and it's grown massively, and it's got a lot of boots on it. So that came into it. And then something happened where we decided, while I've got you here, let's use your talents, because a lot of the editing and the work you've been doing as my production company for my Teachable platform, my virtual workshops and the like, we had to do from over there. So while you were here, and you said, well, let's get her done. And we nailed a whole lot of the intro courses. And I'll never forget, my other half, my sweetie, kept saying, why are you working her so hard? She's supposed to be here on holiday. And I'm there, have a look at her. She's in heaven. Because you're sitting there editing and doing stuff. It was so funny.
It was funny. He kept coming in going, you need to get away from the computer. Take her out for lunch or something. It was gold, but we got so much done. We got that whole course done. Head to hardhatmentor.teachable.com to see more. We've done a few more since then, but that was the beginning of us working together officially. And then, sadly, the holiday ended and I came back over here, and that's when we wrote heaps of things, heaps of lists. I'm a big list head, so I'll put that on the list about the comedy and all the skits we could do. And, we were planning while we were there, but we were working on the serious side of stuff. And then after a while, that's when you came to the conclusion of probably shouldn't do it. And I was kind of like, oh, thank God for that, because I don't want to get on a stage in front of a crew at a bloody mining convention or something, or at a pre-start. So I got my chicken boots firmly back on and got out of it, didn't have to do it.
Well, that's right. And I just knew, we both felt that we had to bring Hard Hat Mentor and Mad Mumzie and us as sisters together, and we came up with Still Cap Sisters, and it's evolved to what it is now, which a part of that is this podcast, of course, our first one. But it's also about how can we use what we both know and have learned not only in the game but also in life, that we've spoken to so many people about, and we can bring your experience and mine from various life and work to try and help others out there with the boots that they've chosen to wear at times in their life.
Yes, absolutely, indeed, because you started saying to me about what boots do you need to put on now a long time ago. Well, it's probably not that long, like the last few years, last couple of years. Time blurs with me. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know the details, but I remember you kept saying, what boots are you putting on now? How are you going to handle this? What do you mean? Like, for me, the biggest one was when Denmark TV, I won't go into that too much now because we'll cover that in another episode, but Denmark TV wanted Mad Mumzie to go on the telly and talk about why mining is so important to Australia, to the Denmarks who don't even have one mine there, and say we should just stop mining. Why don't they just stop mining? Because of climate change. And I totally rang you straight away. I don't know what to do. No, I've got a good head for radio. I'm a podcaster. And I've had those boots on for a long time, but I did it, and we'll go into how that ended up one day. But that's where the boots really started coming in with me. And then we had some really tough times that really cemented it. Are we ready to that?
Yeah, well, I think, apart from life was throwing a lot at our family, pretty big stuff, there was also, I remember getting a phone call from you one night, very emotional, very upset, because we just lost another one of our tribe. We'd lost another miner over there in Queensland, and, at the end of the day, we're trying to look after our tribe, and hearing you like that was devastating. Of course, I was very upset also. But hearing you like that really shook something in me, and I thought, well, I could listen and let it all out, but what I want to do is put my coach's hat on. So at some point during the conversation, I said, well, what can you do about this? We can only control how we choose to respond to anything. How are you going to respond to that? And you were full noise, like, this can't go on, rah, 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 like angry, sad, but very passionate. So then you used that passion, and the very next day, I believe it was, you said, this is Still Cap Sisters. We're going to do a call out to our industry, and I'll let you carry on what happened there.
Well, thank you. The reason I was so, it just really freaked me out to that point, that time, was because, and every death is a person, not a freaking number, but we'd had 6 deaths in 6 months, and then we had 8 in 12 months. And, whether they're the absolute correct statistics, that's not my forte. But I remember getting so frustrated that it kept happening. And I'd heard back from some of my people that they weren't letting the crew talk about it at their pre-starts or at the meeting. And because this was all very much in our area. And So it was hitting home. These last couple that had built up to this phone call with you were very close to us. I knew people that worked there and stuff like that. So I really was angry and frustrated when someone contacted me and said, we asked at pre-start, what's going on? Old mate down the road, died this morning because they'd gone out for night shift. And they got told, we know as much as you do. It'll all come out in an inquiry. Now get to work. That was it, basic. No, and people need to talk about it. The Are You OKs of the world, Beyond Blue, everything, they're encouraging, especially men. If you need to speak up, you're not okay. The crew wasn't okay and they just brushed it off. And so that's what really got me angry and sad and emotional. And so what we came up with, what we between us thought of was coming up with a minute's silence at your pre-start when we've lost one of our family, one of our miners. And can we at least do that? And later on I found out that some people were doing that, but probably a very low percentage. And so that inspired me as the, techno geek kind of person. I guess I created a graphic that had a couple of boots on it and candles and hard hats and the hashtag 1 minute, what was it? 1 minute for our lost miners. Not silence. Yeah, 1 minute for our lost miners. And within a couple of months, I had to add more pictures. And I think that really got to me, well, everyone. It wasn't just me, but what I really got from your coaching call, your blister call, your phone call that night was, what can you do about it? And I really felt like, I can't do anything. How do I stop people dying in a mine? But so we started the call to action, and also a big thing was making sure we didn't share the next one until it was absolutely confirmed, because social media was just going crazy, and I've done a whole podcast episode about that. But and that's social media before next of kin finding out, and it's so many stories around that. But that had a big part of Steel Cap Sisters, and then the media ended up contacting me, and I went on the ABC, and ABC Darwin asked me, and Triple J Hack show, and the kids thought I'd made it when I was on that show. And I was finally Mad Mumzie was cool, but sadly it was about such a shit reason, and that's when we decided we need to work together.
Yep.
And keep doing this as Steel Cap Sisters.
Well, exactly. And, the reason we talk about how we believe we can help change lives, one pair of boots and one step at a time, is no matter what life throws at us, good, bad or ugly, let's stop, celebrate the small wins and successes. And then when we're in a not such a pretty place, what can we do? What boots can we choose? That if we keep sometimes reacting in ways that aren't helpful, how might we change that around, turn that around? And between you and myself, we come at it from different perspectives, but we just want to start conversations around how we can all help each other to add to our collection of boots that we can choose to pick to put on at any time, and they'll be the best fit for that particular situation, versus sometimes, the ones that we keep putting on in certain situations, but the outcome isn't pretty. They actually hurt when we walk. So we really want to find a way to help ourselves and others to make choices, because that's the only thing we can control in this life, is how we choose to respond, not what happens to us. But every choice we make can influence what does occur around us. So it's going to be very powerful. We will get emotional at times, as you just heard. And that 1 minute for our lost miners, I got angry and sad also, because in the work that I do, they're always asking, how can we get more engagement in pre-starts? How can we do this? How can we do that? It's like, well, hang on a minute. What about this? How about you just shut up for a second? You don't have to break any so-called political correctness when it comes to, well, it's still under investigation and we can't talk about that. Bullshit. It's out there everywhere. You can talk about it. Just say, you're about to go out there and do what you do. Let's just take a minute, even if it was 30 seconds. Just shut up, bow your heads, because the power in reminding them they just lost one of their own, not only out of respect and honouring those we've lost, but also to remind them why they need to do whatever they can to look out for each other, was not lost on me, and it overlapped into my world so much. So as you can hear, guys, we're going to talk about stuff in a manner that maybe you're not used to, but get used to it. We want to help is all we want to do, and we feel like we can. We've got our belief boots on now. It's like we're going to come at you, and not only are we going to talk about it, but we're going to actually help you build your own boot tree and have various boots that you can pick and choose from. There's a lot of work going on in the background, right, Mad Mumzie?
There sure is, and you don't even have to be a miner or related to mining or anything, although, you know, that's what we know, and that's where a lot of our life comes around, because it's just in our family. But so there's a lot more about us that isn't mining as well. And, you know, we're always talking about our family boots, your nana boots, your me time boots, you know, and stuff like that. And that's why it's been hard trying to decide, well, who are we going to aim this podcast at? Because as, what is it you say, Blister?
I say a lot. Which particular thing you're aiming at there, mate? Give me some help.
Humans.
Yeah, it's about humans. Yeah, if you got a brain and a spinal cord, this might relate to you, right? If you're living on this planet, maybe you can join us. But, you know, it's true.
And it's just another way to start thinking about what we're about to do, what we're doing, where we've been, where we've come from. How are we ever going to get to the dream lifestyle or job or whatever, you know, body, whatever it is that we are chasing? What do we have to do to actually make it a reality? And for us, and especially for me, because I haven't had the self-belief. I've come, you know, there's been a lot of crap that's gone on, like most people in the world. And to be able to consciously start to think, okay, well, what boots am I going to put on before I go into this particular room that I know isn't going to be, like, it's not bad, but it triggers a lot of things in me that stirs up emotions. And because I'm an emotional person, I'll cry at the drop of the hat, which has got a lot to do with why I left and started my own business, because I don't like being interrogated and asked questions and things. So I want to be in control of my life. But to make that happen, I have to change a lot of who I am and put those self-belief boots on. But I've got to a point now, my feet actually tingle. I'm pointing at them. My feet actually tingle when I think, right, now I need to put these self-belief boots on as I'm about to go and interview the mayor with Denmark TV behind me. You know,
yeah.
And what a big part of this for me as well is a lot of the things we're saying are, I'm going to talk sexy to you now.
Go.
Psychological tools and concepts.
Yeah.
But they're also a big part of the woo-woo world, and think these are, a lot of it is stuff that we know, but it's so refreshing to hear things in a new way. That's why diet books and all of that, there's so many, because we all know what to do, how to get healthy and lose our weight, but we just need to hear it in one more way. And what we are doing is helping us, and so we're hoping that thinking about what boots, building your boot tree, listening to us, we're going to have people come on as well that we're going to sit down and chat with, and hopefully it can help you too.
It will. There's no doubt in my mind at all. I've got those boots firmly on. We're going to kick ass, mate. We're going to have people, I'm just going to make a prediction here that'll say, oh my God, I had, whatever boots on the first time I heard some of this, but now we're rocking those boots, baby. Even the ones that were a bit uncomfortable and didn't fit right at the start when I tried them on the first time, they weren't comfy. But, you know, getting out of your comfort zone, I'm all about that. It's scary, but if it's going to give us the outcomes we want in our life. But it's also about, you know, being grateful for what we've got right now. Yeah, we've all got goals. Yeah, we've all got shit going on sometimes. But at the same time, take a breath, celebrate the success and the small wins along the way, especially at this minute where the world's spun off its axis. We just want to help you guys. It's not actually about us, but it's just us two talking. But we know you're out there, and we want to bring you into our world to help us as well. So there'll be all sorts of ways you can interact with us and share your stories with us. So we look forward to that. And this is our first one. numero uno. And I'm very proud that finally Still Cap Sisters has launched this podcast. And so stay tuned. There's going to be so much for you coming. I can't wait to see you here. And I'm very excited. Thank you, Mad Mumzie. It's been weird, but cool.
It has. It's great. And as a podcaster, I know that with this being episode 1, by the time you listen to this, we might have 100 episodes already. That you can just go and devour right now and download and share with everyone. Please share this with anyone who you think might enjoy it. Right now, as we're recording this, it's all we've got. But as podcast listeners, most people go back to this episode to listen, which is why we didn't want to spend 3 hours on our life stories.
Yeah. So we better shut up now. Thank you so much for listening. If you're a first-time listener and you did do what Leanne said, Mad Mumzie, and come in and listen to this one, we're very grateful that you're here. And if we've got 100 already, well, you're a bit late to the party, but welcome anyway.
Oh, my God, that's gold. Absolutely welcome. And, you know, in all the future episodes, you'll hear about all of our links. But one link we will suggest you go to is stillcapsisters.com/podcast.
And this is episode 1. And it rocked. And I guess we'll see you on the next bit.
We will see you on the next bit. Okay. Love you. See you. Bye.
Oh, I love you. See you. Bye.
You hang up.
No, you hang up.
No, you hang up.
No, you hang up.
I've got to end the
Love
meeting.
Oh, yeah. Love you. See you. Bye.
Love you. See you. Bye.
Well, hang up.
Oh,
No, you hang up.